Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of How To with the Caribbean Gaffer. And today we are powered by 13 Degrees North Rentals and we are in the Christmas spirit, loving it. And I'm in heaven. I'm joined today by Carl Blenman. He doesn't know how much he inspires me and how happy he makes me feel being a photographer and a gaffer and a lighting tech. It is beautiful and wonderful to have you here with me today, Carl, so that we could talk about the how-to of lighting. So tell me how you got started in photography and in the lighting realm, Carl.
This started for me back in high school in Canada.
Right.
And there was a fellow by the name of Neil Newton. And he was a freelance photographer. He worked on his own and stuff. And he came to our school and we did a project called Celebration.
Right.
Now, this was the first time that I actually picked up a 35mm camera.
Right.
Now, back in those days, no digital, so you couldn't take a picture and look at the back of the camera.
Correct.
So we did a quick lesson on what proper exposure is.
Right.
And we worked with slides. And most of the shots in the slideshow were the ones that I had taken.
Huh.
So the same fellow, Neil Newton, took me aside and said, "You have an eye for photography." I said, "Great, do I get an A?" I totally didn't understand at that time what he meant.
Right.
Okay, so was working at a record warehouse, bought my first camera, Yashica FX3, and I started to do my first wedding. And on that wedding, I remember posing the groomsmen, with a waterfalls in the back, a river. I took off my shoes and socks, rolled up my pants, put my tripod in the water, and shot the image. As I was getting out of the river, an older photographer said to me, "Isn't it great to see the image in your head first?" That's what Neil was telling me, the eye for photography. So just like how a musician would hear the music and then play it so everybody else can hear it, the photographer now sees an image and manipulates the light, manipulates the subject so everybody else can see. So that's what I do naturally.
Right.
So that's how it got started and took off.
Good. So now that you have moved from photography more into the lighting realm, how has that, in essence, changed you and how you perceive things and working with them, getting people to truly understand the vision of what you see before the shot? So,
with a still picture, I'm trying to say as much as I can because I only have one frame to do it. People that don't come from that area, they're able to have multiple frames to tell the story.
Right.
So me as a photographer, I try to tell it with one glance. So I will put more elements in the lighting. I will use just what's necessary to tell the story. And I don't go overboard, so to speak. I find that a lot of the lighting people will just throw on lights and, yeah, that looks good. But with me now, especially coming from the old school where we weren't able to look at the back of the camera, I employ a light meter. Now, the light meter is handy because it takes the guesswork out of exposure. So I need to know the sensitivity of the camera. I need to know the f-stop that they're planning to use, and I need to know, okay, what's the shutter speed and so forth.
Right.
Good. So with the light meter, I'm able to put that in and tell the person behind the camera, this is the correct setup.
Right.
And also, it's very important to be able to convey to the person, director or so forth, if they say they want something really moody, really dramatic. Oh, okay, I need to make 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1. And I show them and say, imagine this. Is this what you like?
Right.
Go for it.
If people say, okay, I want something more dramatic, then we know, okay, you're definitely looking at light and contrast.
Yes.
Right? If we wanted here to be a little bit more dramatic, maybe we would turn off all the lights on that side. So that then light would just be coming from this side, and then we would have shadow on that side and just light on this side. But then when you get into situations where you are within the television studio and then you have to do something that is deemed dramatic, then some people might tell you, Carl, it's too dark.
Yes. not that dramatic. We need a little lighter. I
Right.
often tell people, think of the shadow as weight. How heavy do you want that shadow?
Yeah.
And usually relating it to weight, they go, oh, okay. They can either say they want it really heavy or they want it, just a little lighter.
Right.
And then we go for it.
Right. I find that sometimes within television here, sometimes it gets too dark. Like putting a dark person on a black background without any backlight. And then the head disappears. But also understand that you need separation of your subjects. And light does that. So therefore, if you're a dark person, you're sitting here in front of a background, there needs to be some level of distance between the background and the subject.
Yes.
And then there needs to be some level of light in between the two.
Correct.
Cameras don't operate like how our eyes operate and our brains operate. Right. So we might be able to see Carl sitting here and know, okay, Carl is here, but then there's something dark behind him. A camera, all black.
2-dimensional.
Is black, correct.
Yeah,
just a 2-dimensional space. So a light helps create that separation and brings about that level of 3D within that 2-dimensional space. And a lot of people don't understand that.
They don't understand that. And as a DP, I would also use something called a kick light.
Right.
So meaning it kicks the subject off the background. Right. So that could be employed just by a light on the floor or even a light from the ceiling illuminating their backs. So what that happens, you won't see the light hitting their back other than
the rim, just the outline of the person.
Right. So that outline now can separate the two darks.
With the advent of LED technology versus the old school type traditional lights, do you have a preference? Do you find that you like working with LEDs now more than the incandescence or than the fluorescence?
So with the lighting now, you might be used to the incandescent, but the new LED lights have such a variety. They can look like the incandescent, and they can look like the 56K with Kelvin, meaning the color temperature of the sun.
Right.
And you can, once you embrace the new technology, you'll find that your old school knowledge puts you ahead of those who only knew the
new technology. And with that old school stuff, things used to be bulky.
Oh, yes.
And extremely heavy and cumbersome. And you always needed space. Now with the modern era, right now alone in this interview, we have at least 10 or 12 lights in this small space that we are in. Back then,
how hard it would be back in the day.
I am saying, and everything right now around us is all LED and being able to be controlled separately. So even with this Christmas edition, having red and green lights going off in the background via an app, and I absolutely love Astera lights. I love these tubes.
Control with your phone.
Control, correct. All control with the phone. Although technology is changing, techniques still remain the same. Three-point lighting still will be 3-point lighting. If you want a Rembrandt look or beauty lighting, you still have to apply the basic principles as it relates to lighting. So key, fill, and back.
Yeah.
I don't think that will ever change.
Even if they allow the new technology to add light after, there's something about, like I would tell my students, it's better to enhance than to fix. Right? So get what you want right the first time. And then from there, it's easy to shift in any direction. Because if the lighting isn't correct, you have a lot of work to do in post. Right?
Yeah.
And who wants to spend on maybe...
And I personally am not a fan of fix it in post. I don't like that term.
No.
I like fixing it now.
That's right.
Lighting. And we intend to light up the world. Now, Carl, if somebody wants to find you and get your help with lighting, with photography, how do they find you?
They can use a phone number that will appear on the screen right now. There you go.
And that is how you can contact Carl.
Yes.
Just remember, like, subscribe to this YouTube channel. 13 Degrees North Productions is our handle on Facebook and on Instagram. 13 Degrees North Rentals. Without them, this would not be possible. Getting these lights here would not be possible. We will not be feeling the Christmas spirit.
Yes.
And you can also find me on Instagram at the Caribbean Gaffer. Season's greetings. Do continue to enjoy the holiday and the festive season. And we will see you next episode on How To. Bye.